Here's what we're talking about today here on the Now. Postpartum depression often goes undetected. Now a program is becoming a national model to teach medical providers what to look for and to make sure that moms get help. And it's a common sight across the country, empty storefronts. We're going to look into the debate over whether property owners should be taxed for this. And popular musicians becoming more vocal about their struggles with mental health. Now they're getting extra help for the first time. How a new wellness program can benefit everyone.
Thank you, Chris. I'm Amanda Starantino, and you're watching the Now Indy. Last week, President Trump appointed Vice President Mike Pence to lead the response to the coronavirus outbreak. We know this week the VP is meeting with CEOs of airlines and cruise ship companies. If you have a flight scheduled in the next few months, you may be wondering if you should go or cancel. But consumer reporter John Matarese shows us some simple ways to keep the germs away when you are flying so you stay safe and don't waste your money.
The coronavirus threat has a lot of people rethinking their travel plans for this spring, or at least taking extra precautions if they have a flight coming up. So if you're flying soon, what's the best way to protect yourself? Cynthia Ann Kesterson worries about the coronavirus while flying with her young son.
We got to keep him germ-free, safe. It's a crazy world out there right now.
So this Texas mom was careful on this trip.
Yeah, just try to wipe everything down, wash our hands as soon as we get off the plane.
With coronavirus dominating the headlines, we found a few travelers wearing face masks. Others carried their own blankets to avoid germs.
I brought my own blanket, so I was warm.
All major airlines wipe down their seats and tray tables at the end of each flying day. Some, though, now do a disinfectant wipe down between every flight leg for extra safety.
Our flight attendants wipe down the seats before passengers board every segment. And we also have masks on board just in case we spot somebody that's sick.
Now, even if your airline wipes down their equipment between use, it's still a good idea these days to bring some disinfectant wipes and wipe down your tray table and armrests just to be safe. That's what Carol Walton does.
I was concerned. I brought sanitizer, I brought wipes.
What about masks? The CDC does not recommend them if you are healthy. In addition, cabin air systems use HEPA filters to catch most airborne germs and particles before the air comes out your ceiling vent. Doctors say if you wash frequently, use disinfectant wipes on a plane, you improve your chance of staying germ-free and you don't waste your money. Working for you, I'm John Matarese for RTV6.
Well, central Indiana with low clouds and see in the distance there. We've got a little light fog, but I can see Indy. Can you? That's looking over the second turn at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Yesterday, had some fun. Temperatures in the 60s, so I decided to go for a joyride on the lawnmower. Back and forth I went. Didn't take long. Got dizzy, and I hopped off the lawnmower. It won't be long until the grass gets long. I'd say mid to late March, as our temperatures continue above average, we'll start to see some real signs of spring. One sign of spring showers, and we may have a rumble of thunder tonight. Across central Indiana now, drizzle. I'll go here and watch. Let me find it. It's kind of hiding from us, but there's one area here right along what will become crossing 57 and move to the northeast with some lightning. I think these will expand and really develop in the southern third of Indiana and Kentucky as far as the additional rain that we expect tonight. 50 in Indy, while 52 in Bloomington. Temperatures through the evening hours will be fairly steady in the 40s. The north wind at around 10 miles per hour. And temperatures tomorrow morning, after the latest round of rain moves through, we'll start in the 30s. We'll talk about where we'll finish coming up.
As the coronavirus spreads, the American Pharmacists Association says we will likely see more prescription drug shortages. Last week, the FDA announced the first shortage because of production issues in China. It's unclear what medicine it is, but if you do rely on a certain drug, the APA says it is important to be prepared, to know your options, but don't panic.
Most medicines have alternatives. Knowing what those alternatives are is an important thing for a consumer to know.
The APA says it would like to see the U.S. become more self-sufficient in drug production. About 80% of the ingredients in U.S. medicines come from other countries. The FDA is talking with 180 manufacturers around the world about their drug supplies. The agency is also watching 20 drugs that are only produced in China. Hasn't identified them either. The APA says whether or not to name the impacted drug is a tough call that lawmakers are debating.
On the one hand, you've got the issue of helping patients and pharmacists and physicians, prescribers being prepared to help manage those challenges with their patients. On the other hand, if they list those drugs, we run a risk of a run on the bank, if you will, patients hoarding them to the degree that it makes it difficult for everybody to get their share.
And if you're worried about supplies, the APA says you can talk to your doctor or pharmacist about the source of your medication. Big announcement from the campaign trail today as Senator Amy Klobuchar announcing she is ending her bid for the Democratic nomination. Furthermore, she says she is endorsing former Vice President Joe Biden. Let's turn to the Now newsfeed. Bump stocks are still banned. The Supreme Court saying it will not hear a lawsuit that's challenging the law. Gun makers had appealed the ban of the device that helps semi-automatic guns continuously fire with one pull of the trigger. Molson Coors employees returning to work today in Milwaukee. There was an increased security at the facility after a fired employee killed 5 workers, then himself last week. The company also made counseling services available. New guidelines want American adults to be checked for Hep C. Virus can exist for decades before symptoms appear. The new guidelines for expanded checks are believed to be tied to the opioid epidemic. Well, let's get back to our lineup here on the Now. We are seeing more stores sitting vacant nationwide. They can be an eyesore, but who is really responsible? We're getting into the debate over whether property owners should be taxed if stores are vacant for too long.
Welcome back. Hiring Hoosiers is our TV6's commitment to make sure you are aware of job opportunities that are right for you. If you're looking for a seasonal job, Lowe's is hiring to fill nearly 1,000 positions. The company will be holding 2 walk-in hiring events this week, one on Wednesday and one on Saturday. You can just go to any store in the Indianapolis and Central Indiana area and get an interview from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. either day. They are looking to fill inside and outside lawn and garden positions and also cashiers. Chris.
City officials across the country will be looking to San Francisco tomorrow. Voters are deciding on a new approach on tackling blight. The issue is whether to tax landlords if their store is empty for at least 6 months. Industry professionals are skeptical.
I own real estate, I teach real estate, I advise clients on real estate, and tenants, landlords I know don't want their places vacant. So when I think about this tax and this charge to have, if you have vacant places, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, I have to say.
The Wall Street Journal says store vacancies are often blamed on high rent, but other issues play a role, and that includes the increase in online shopping, conditions of the building, and zoning regulations. Professor Mark Levine says he is worried that this tax would fuel the problem.
It could very well backfire. And then does that mean that tenants will be a higher rent rate because of these issues and so on? And is it just an indirect way that some governments are funding other things?
Supporters say the tax is avoidable for landlords who genuinely try to do the right thing. They hope it starts a conversation about what fair rent should be. A few years ago, Washington, D.C. enacted a similar tax that also applies to empty residential properties, not just retail. Now to a follow-up on a story that we told you about last week. Consumer Reports says that more than 120,000 people signed a petition urging 3 major airlines to let kids sit with parents without having to pay an extra seat fee. Representatives from Consumer Reports will testify at a congressional hearing tomorrow. It will focus on the experience passengers have when flying. All right, ahead in our lineup here in the Now, postpartum depression can take a family's happiest time and make it incredibly difficult.
I did a lot of crying. It was very difficult to carry on a conversation with somebody because all I would do was cry.
How a new program is becoming the national model for addressing the health of expectant and recent mothers.
Only on RTV6 News.
Let's start the Now news feed. When you fly American Airlines, you will see flight attendants wearing new uniforms. The old ones were blamed for causing headaches and rashing. Land's End is making these new uniforms, but that company was recently sued by Delta employees for causing similar problems with their uniforms. AT&T is rolling out a new online TV service. It starts at $50 a month for a 2-year contract. Companies had trouble as DirecTV's business has been shrinking. AT&T will have similar channels as DirecTV, but it's going to come in over the internet instead of satellite. Well, kids just don't want toys based off of their favorite TV shows anymore. Companies say there is a growing market for toys based off YouTube stars. For example, toys will be produced based on Coco Melon. That's a nursery rhyme channel that has 74 million subscribers. Healthcare experts are raising the red flag about children and health insurance. New study by the Center for Children and Families at Georgetown University found there are more than 1 million kids under the age of 6 who are uninsured. The Washington Post says that number represents just more than 4% of all kids in the United States. The American Academy of Pediatrics says by the time a child turns 6, they should have already gone to the doctor at least 14 times. Well, how can gun laws be effective in stopping gun violence? Researchers at Boston Children's Hospital looked at child access prevention laws. Now, there are several levels that hold gun owners accountable if a child gets a weapon. Recklessness laws deal with if a gun owner hands their gun to someone and then they hurt someone. Negligence laws look at how firearms are stored. Holds a gun owner responsible if a child gets a firearm and then hurts someone. Gun owners can face criminal charges if a child gets access to a gun. Boston Children's found that there are drastic differences in their effectiveness.
It turns out when you look at the states with recklessness laws, there are no differences in the fatalities among children compared to states that have no laws. But when we look at these negligence laws, you see about a 13% reduction overall from firearm fatalities.
The research published today suggests if there had been laws in place between 1991 and 2016, 1,000 children might be alive today. The toughest safe storage laws reduced deaths by 29%, so we're talking 4,000 children in that situation. Researchers say if someone survives, though, you have to think of the long-term life consequences.
These leave children and adults paralyzed with lifelong pain, and we're really trying to avoid that type of suffering.
Doctors say guns should be stored unloaded and locked away from ammunition. Nationally, the last child access prevention law passed in the year 2000. Currently, only 16 states have the most effective version.
It's a great day to take some time, pull out a book, find a quiet corner, and read. It is Read Across America Day. Read Across America calls for every child in every community to celebrate reading on March 2nd, the birthday of beloved children's author Dr. Seuss. Indiana Governor Eric Holcomb invited more than 100 fourth grade students from Shelbyville's Looper Elementary to his office as he read to them from the book, What Do You Do with an Idea?
One day, I had an idea. Where did it come from? Why is it here? I wonder, what do you do with an idea?
There were many events today to celebrate Read Across America Day. Sports director Dave First joined in the fun, too. We will hear about the stories he shared with some kindergarten through second graders coming up on the news at 6. Kevin, do you have a favorite Dr. Seuss book?
Cat in the Hat. I mean,
Cat in the Hat?
Yeah,
Okay.
Green Eggs and Ham.
That's always
I also like the books that, like, 3 bears, maybe. I don't know how many bears on a bike. You know, all those kind of things. The simple reading I enjoyed. Benji was a big hit in my house at one point, that book. Okay. And then finally Season on the Brink. All right, that's my reading list. Let me show you some of the thunderstorms. That's a sign of spring. You were just looking at a break in the cloud cover out in Putnam County. This thunderstorm developed quickly, producing some hail. Will move to the east. Now, where is it? Here's Evansville. So this is way far away from central Indiana. But the thunderstorms are out there, and they'll most likely be more intense south of the Ohio River. I thought I'd share this with you today. I was at the National Weather Service for a meeting, and they had a mold of the largest hailstone ever recovered in the U.S. This is from 2010 in Vivian, South Dakota. 8 inches in diameter and about 2 pounds is what it weighed. Look at how jagged the edges are to that. Temperatures, low 50s, most areas. You have to go down to the Ohio River to find temperatures at 60 or above. Between now and 11, what will happen? We'll see an expansion of the rain in the southern half of the state, especially the southern third once you get south of Terre Haute, Bloomington, Columbus, but I think even toward the metro area by 11. Rain and potentially a couple rumbles of thunder overnight. 11 o'clock until 1 a.m. There's the rain, isolated thunderstorms, Bloomington, Greensburg, Columbus. By the time we get to 4 a.m., that will start to exit to the south and east. We'll be left with a dry and windy day. Temperatures tomorrow hit 54 degrees.
1 in every 5 women who get pregnant will experience a form of depression either while expecting or after they give birth. That depression often goes undetected by doctors. But Maya Rodriguez shows us how a program is teaching medical providers to spot the symptoms and get those moms help.
Jennifer Ford and her daughters Addison and McKinley look the picture of a happy family.
We're very close.
But it wasn't always that way, especially when Jennifer gave birth to her younger daughter, McKinley.
I was just in a zone, I guess. And then when I had her, I had a C-section. It was totally unplanned.
So was what happened next. Jennifer experienced a deep depression.
I did a lot of crying. It was very difficult to carry on a conversation with somebody because all I would do was cry. And I couldn't do normal functions. Like I couldn't cook dinner. I couldn't clean my house. It was difficult to even shower.
Help came from an unexpected place, her OBGYN, through a program called the Massachusetts Child Psychiatry Access Program, known as MCPAP for Moms.
Every time a woman is seen by an obstetric provider, it's an opportunity to detect depression, discuss it, and engage women in treatment.
So far, the program trained thousands of OBGYNs across the country to screen expectant moms for depression, creating a network of providers who see pregnant women all the time and can help take action when depression presents itself. Among the symptoms, feelings of hopelessness, trouble eating and sleeping, struggling to do day-to-day activities, and difficulty bonding with their baby.
My role as an OBGYN is to say it is the most common complication of pregnancy.
Tiffany Moore-Simas helps train other OBGYNs through the program.
If we can identify them and identify them early, they are treatable, and a woman does not need to suffer with this.
For Jennifer Ford,
but McKinley is very attached to me.
It made all the difference for her and her family.
I think I will always go to therapy. Always. I think it's important to normalize therapy. I really do.
A mental health challenge she hopes others can overcome too. In Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, I'm Maya Rodriguez reporting.
Maya, thank you. And in addition to Massachusetts, where it started, the MCPAP for Moms program has trained OBGYNs in more than a dozen states, including Florida, California, Michigan, and Montana. Well, incarceration can be a cycle that's hard to break. 2018 Department of Justice report says almost half of prisoners were arrested within 1 year of their release. In an effort to keep more people from going back to jail, a former inmate started a company to help prisoners embrace their artistic side. Well, think of it as Etsy for Inmates, an online platform for incarcerated people to sell their artwork.
I came out in a large amount of debt. You come out with that debt, and if you don't have a chance to pay that off inside, I mean, it's a constant uphill battle.
Art of Redemption raised about $100,000 to create an online marketplace. The CEO says inmates would get 60% of profits to help pay for things like restitution or child support. They're collecting artwork now and expect a public launch later this year. Last week, we told you about how Philadelphia was preparing to open the first safe injection site in the country. However, that plan's now on hold after backlash from the community. People living in the area rallied together on Sunday to say no to the plan. The safe injection site would be a place that people could go to use drugs under medical supervision. And if you're looking to fill out the census online, here's an important date for you. It's March 12th. That's the day that you can head to my2020census.gov to complete the questionnaire. It will be available through the end of July. The Census Bureau is estimating that around 60% of households will pick this method to complete the census. Well, next in our lineup here on The Now, popular musicians starting to be more vocal about their struggles with mental health. We're going to show you how they're getting help for the first time and also show you how a new wellness program is benefiting more than just the artists.